The Archivist's Code Volume 2. Chapter 11, The Eye of Babel. The Vatican's deepest vault feature in the archives, only whispered references from her father's notes, the Eye of Babel. Evelyn had expected something ornate, maybe even holy. What she found instead was mechanical. A vast, circular chamber stretched out beneath St. Peter's tomb. Copper piping veined the walls like arteries. In the center, rising from a dais of obsidian stone, stood a metal pillar with rotating gears, crystalline lenses, and small speakers embedded into its structure. Mira Tal, rogue operative and former Veil 3 agent, watched Evelyn with arms folded. "This is what they built from the Babel fragments," she said. "It's the broadcast device, designed to alter mass memory through low-frequency patterns. It doesn't just send sound. It embeds history." Evelyn stepped forward. "And you want to use this?" Mira smirked. "Your father already did." Silence. Only the hum of generators filled the chamber. Evelyn turned slowly, absorbing the scale. Symbols lined the edge of the dais's veil insignias, 3, 6, 9. Each represented a different division of the truth. Each built to never fully trust the others. "I thought the Veil wanted secrecy," Evelyn said. "Why would they build something to expose everything?" Mira's eyes sharpened. "Because control isn't about hiding things. It's about choosing when they're revealed." Cross understood that. Evelyn bristled at her father's name. "You talk like you knew him." "I did," Mira replied. "And I know he left you the divergence key for a reason." Evelyn stepped back. "You don't want the truth out. You want a new version of it. One you control." Mira didn't deny it. "Better than what we have now." And for the first time, Evelyn wasn't sure that was wrong. Chapter 12, The Fractured Truth. Evelyn sat cross-legged on the cold stone floor of the chamber, the second codex open before her. Mira had left her alone, for now. But Evelyn's new eyes were watching from hidden corners. She flipped through the pages, deciphering each layer with the cipher wheel. The revelations came slowly, like poison through and for. 1991, a revolution was artificially triggered to collapse a fragile economic alliance. 2002, a medical breakthrough was buried because the patent fell outside Veil 2's jurisdiction. 2014, a natural disaster was allowed to escalate to test evacuation patterns. And through all of it, one name repeated in footnotes, signatures, or encrypted lines. Graham Cross. Her father. He hadn't just been an observer. He had designed the filtration algorithms that determined what truths were suppressed and what lies were allowed to surface. The betrayal made her nauseous. But deeper still, in the margin of a heavily redacted page, Evelyn found a handwritten line. "Truth is not the opposite of control. It's the raw material of it." She recognized the handwriting. And she wept. Chapter 13, The Trial of Silence. The chamber was dark. Evelyn had been blindfolded, drugged, and placed inside a sealed chamber. The only sound was her breath, her heartbeat, and the occasional hum of shifting air pressure. This was Veil 1's final test. A voice came through the darkness, mechanical and slow. "State your name." "Evelyn Cross." "State your origin." "I don't know." "State your purpose." "To find the truth." "Incorrect." The room vibrated. Images flickered across her mind, memories she didn't know she had. A toy piano. A corridor made of mirrors. A word whispered into her ear by a man in shadows, catalyst. She screamed as pain surged into her skull. But it wasn't physical, it was memory, flooding back in too fast. She remembered her father lifting her as a child, whispering, "You are my key, Evelyn. When they forget, you must remember." When she awoke, the blindfold was gone. She was still alone. But now she knew who she was. Chapter 14, Revelation Protocol. Mira stood before the eye, hands poised above a control panel. A countdown had begun. Once the cycle completes, she said, the signal embeds into all open frequencies. Devices, networks, even implants. Evelyn arrived just in time, code drive in hand. I won't let you decide for everyone, she said. Mira raised an eyebrow. Then decide with me. A standoff. Evelyn inserted her drive. Mira inserted hers. The eye blinked. 2 signals. 1 truth. 1 divergence. The machine began to spin. Across the world, screens dimmed. Radios cut to static. For 1 minute, there was only silence. And then the screams began. Chapter 15, The Last Archivist. The Vatican chamber was in ruins. Mira had vanished. Evelyn limped into the whisper chamber beneath Rome, her body shaking, her mind on fire. She placed the 3rd codex into the central archive console. I'm not here to fix the world, she whispered. I'm here to remind it. She recorded one last message. My name is Evelyn Cross. I am not your savior. I am not your enemy. I am a mirror. Look closely. Then she erased her identity from all known databases. And disappeared. The last entry of the whisper chamber reads: The veil never ends. It only changes hands. Chapter 16, Aftermath Protocol. The world didn't end. But it didn't continue the same either. Cities pulsed with confusion. Newsfeeds contradicted themselves. Families gathered to compare memories, and realized some didn't align. In Berlin, a child remembered a school she'd never attended. In Johannesburg, a widow wept for a husband who, according to global records, never existed. They called it the blink. In the first 72 hours, governments crumbled. Stock markets suspended. The veil was exposed, or at least pieces of it. But no one knew how deep it went. Evelyn Cross had vanished, Mira Tal was missing, and the Eye of Babel was inert. In the silence, something else emerged. A voice. A new broadcast, untraceable, anonymous. It called itself the 4th seal. The Archivist tried to reveal the truth. But truth is a weapon only when it is complete. We offer the rest. Chapter 17, The 4th Seal. Lena Devick had heard that voice before. She sat alone in the candlelit crypts of Varzea, Georgia, a carved monastery her faction had once used to hide classified texts. She was a former handler in Vale 3. Now, she was hunted. The voice belonged to Thorne, a man who had once operated the shadow networks beneath the eye. He was supposed to be dead. But here he was, on every frequency, behind every hack. Lena reached for the encrypted hard drive Evelyn had left in her care. It pulsed softly, as if breathing. She whispered, "You knew this would happen, didn't you, Evelyn?" And she activated the drive. Chapter 18, The Cipher Reversal. The data Evelyn had embedded wasn't just a truth dump. It was layered in paradox, contradictory records, parallel timelines, broken code interwoven with metadata fingerprints. A man named Rafi Patel, once an AI linguist for Vale 2, surfaced online with a claim. The eye's broadcast can be reversed. The mind is elastic. But you need a counterfrequency. A divergence algorithm. Within hours, a bounty appeared on his head. And within days, he disappeared. But not before leaving a single digital breadcrumb. A name. Hiraeth. Chapter 19, The Memory Vault. Evelyn had not died. She'd buried herself in the folds of an old French monastery, deep in the Pyrenees, where the ancient Cistercians once chanted without words. Here, she found what her father had hinted at but never finished. The Memory Vault. A neural encoding chamber that didn't store information, it stored experience. whole memories, locked in a living network of synaptic echoes. The codex she carried wasn't just a book. It was a cipher to access the past. She plugged in the archive. Memories surged. But they weren't hers. They were Graham Cross's. She screamed as his final thoughts flooded her mind. They lied to me, Evelyn. All 3 veils. There was a 4th. And it knew everything. Chapter 20, Voices in Static. The world spun again. In New York, every emergency frequency broadcast a repeating phrase in Morse: "She is not finished." In Cairo, a museum worker found a reel-to-reel tape spinning on its own. In Seoul, an encrypted photo appeared in the sky, visible only through broken camera lenses, a woman walking into a vault of mirrors. Rafi's backup message finally surfaced through the white noise. Follow the sound that remembers. It will take you to Hiraeth. Evelyn heard it. And she packed her things. Chapter 21, Hiraeth. The Arctic wind ripped through Evelyn's coat as she arrived at an abandoned polar frequency station. Hiraeth. There were no guards. No lights. Just a humming beneath the snow. Inside, she found relics of a Cold War project. Files stamped with unauthorized truth. Audio logs of dream experiments. Frozen memory cages. And a doorway marked Arc Fragment 01. She stepped inside. And the door locked behind her. Chapter 22, The Glass Room. Evelyn found herself suspended in a digital environment. No walls. No floor. Just a room made of reflections. Thorne appeared in the glass, older, gaunt, eyes sunken. "You broke the cycle, Evelyn," he said. "But you didn't destroy it. You scattered it." She tried to speak. Her voice came out distorted. "This room," Thorne continued, "reconstructs identity by harvesting contradictory signals. You are not who you think you are. You're who the world remembers you to be." The reflections around her changed, versions of herself she didn't recognize. A child with no eyes. A woman in military armor. A priestess in flame. She screamed. And woke up gasping on a cold floor. Chapter 23, The Voice of Babel. She wasn't alone. Lena knelt beside her, blood on her collar. "They tried to overwrite you," she said, shaking. "But you didn't break." "How did you find me?" Evelyn rasped. "The vault has memory echoes. It called me too." Evelyn looked around. She wasn't in Hiraeth anymore. She was beneath it. In a chamber older than the eye. A cathedral made of quartz and bone. This wasn't a broadcast center. It was the original transmitter. The real eye. And it was waking up. Chapter 24, Divergence. Evelyn and Lena descended the spiral staircase beneath the cathedral. Strange inscriptions covered the walls, mathematical symbols fused with primal pictographs. At the bottom, a dais with 3 slots. Evelyn retrieved her father's codex. Lena brought the cipher wheel. And from her coat, Evelyn pulled the pendant marked with 3, 6, 9. They fit. The chamber shook. A pulse of sound, low and deep, spread through the earth. A voice echoed, not mechanical, not human. "The eye sees all. The eye forgets nothing. But you may choose which truth it keeps." And the divergence protocol began. Chapter 25, Pulse. Around the world, clocks stopped. Devices powered off. Then a pulse. A second. A third. The signal spread not through wires, but through thought. Every living person experienced something different. A forgotten love. A future that never happened. A truth they were never supposed to know. And then it stopped. Just silence. Chapter 26, A Library of Ghosts. In the aftermath, Evelyn and Lena found themselves in a chamber beneath the cathedral, a vault filled with reels, discs, scrolls, and oral codes. One reel had a voice Evelyn hadn't heard in years. Her father. "If you're listening, Evelyn, then I failed. But you didn't. You survived the lie. That makes you its undoing." And another voice followed. "Mira. I see now. Truth wasn't meant to be revealed. It was meant to evolve." Chapter 27, The Ark Fragment. Evelyn discovered a slab, etched in pre-Sumerian symbols. It told a story, not of a flood, but of a memory so powerful it had to be buried. Not to protect humanity, but to protect the memory. The Ark was not a vessel. It was a fracture. A rupture in history that echoed forward through thought. And the eye had been trying to rebuild it. Chapter 28, The Reset Clock. Thorne was not done. He had reached the Vatican ruins and reassembled a fragment of the eye. From there, he planned to send a new signal, a reset. A world without veil, without falsehoods, without contradiction. Just clarity. He called it the final alignment. And Evelyn had less than 12 hours to stop it. Chapter 29, Last Light. Evelyn arrived at the relay station atop the Dolomites, where the sky pulsed red. She placed the divergence protocol into the transmitter. But instead of replacing Thorne's signal, she wove it into his. The result was chaos. Memory loops. Identity fragmentation. Civilizations questioning not just their past, but their present. And then. Peace. Chapter 30, Disappearance. The next day, Evelyn was gone. Lena found only a letter, handwritten on old vellum. Truth is no longer a weapon. It's a question. And the answer is changing. The eye shut down. The codex sealed itself. Chapter 31, Archive 0. A year passed. A new archive emerged, Archive 0, dedicated not to facts or records, but to disagreement. Each truth stored alongside its opposite. Children were taught not what to remember, but how to question. And Evelyn's name became myth. Chapter 32, The Unwritten Record. In remote corners of the world, strange phenomena began. Dreams shared by strangers. Voices speaking forgotten languages. A boy in Nairobi spoke Latin in his sleep. A girl in Buenos Aires remembered building the eye. And they all whispered the same phrase. The veil remembers. Chapter 33, The Quiet Echo. A scientist in Kyoto developed a scanner for electromagnetic echoes. What he found were memory signatures embedded in the Earth's magnetic field. Lena feared it wasn't over. The eye hadn't been a tool. It had been a seed. Chapter 34, The Fourth Silence. Lena opened the final message Evelyn had stored on a buried drive. It read. There are 4 silences. The first hides. The second manipulates. The third corrupts. The fourth listens. And beneath it. Be careful what you whisper. Chapter 35, Codex Omega. On the anniversary of the Pulse, an unmarked envelope was delivered to Archive 0. Inside, a blank book. Its cover. Codex Omega. And a single line embossed beneath the title. The story never ends. It evolves. To be continued.